This is the Ninja Rob Podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter, the podcast for the true martial artist.
Welcome, everyone, to the Ninja Rob Podcast. Again, this is Marco Perazzo, and I'm very proud and happy to introduce someone that's going to be such a pleasure to have a conversation with. Highly educated, highly trained, almost the exact polar opposite of my co-host Tim Carpenter. Highly uneducated, highly untrained.
He's listening to this, you know that, right, Marco?
Not currently. Well, when I'm going to immediately upload it and send it to him in Hungary. NJ, Nedson, however you seem to know him. NJ Campbell, black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Yale educated, psychiatrist, M.D, medical doctor, in the faces of all the DOs out there. All right?
We love DOs.
We do. Yeah, DOs are cool.
DOs are great.
Yeah, but it's like street self-defense versus sport when you go MD versus DO. Right? It depends on what you like.
I can't be recorded agreeing with any of that.
Really?
No. It's the same. It's the same thing.
You get in trouble with what? Your Hippocratic Oath doesn't let you slam the DOs?
They do just as well. Just as well.
All right, man. Well, look, NJ is here. For some odd reason, I think people are happy that Tim's not here, so they have not flooded us with questions, because I think they send us questions so that Tim doesn't come up with ideas.
Yeah, and I think they really like seeing you and Tim fight. So
yeah,
they don't really know the dynamic between you and I.
Yeah, I think they really think we don't like each other, but we really hate each other.
Yeah.
It's more than just not like each other.
Right.
But you are, you've been training jiu-jitsu for how long?
I guess since 2000, so 19 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
How long did it take you to become a doctor?
About the same amount of time. So I started school in 99, college, and I didn't graduate medical school until I think 2005. I didn't finish with Yale. Oh no, 2009.
I like the way you slid that in there. That Ivy League school.
Well, you already mentioned it.
It's
already
cool.
out
It's like,
there.
I went to Yale. I get it.
Yeah, I would never talk about this if I wasn't on the podcast.
No,
it's kind of obnoxious.
Is it really?
Pretty much,
bro. It's an amazing accomplishment that you graduated from Yale.
That you should keep to yourself.
No.
Otherwise,
I don't think you should walk around with your white coat when you're at Whole Foods.
No.
Right, but you could be inspiring to people.
Yeah, but basically, if you asked me, I went to school in New Haven, and then you'd have to take a lot more conversation to get it out of me.
I think you need to kind of puff your chest out a little bit more.
I get that. Maybe I'm too humble. Is that possible?
Faux humility, maybe.
Faux humility.
Yeah, I've trained with you because you're not humble when you train, bro.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. So we could get into that.
That's
a little
just
bit
with
later.
you, though. Yeah. Okay.
No, there's a whole dynamic.
Okay.
But so you were specialty. You have a specialty and a subspecialty, right? As a doctor and also as a jiu-jitsu guy. But
Right. So I'm a psychiatrist. I'm trained psychiatrist, and I'm also trained addiction psychiatrist as well.
And you're currently practicing.
I'm practicing. Yeah, I'm a medical director for a private outpatient company. Yeah, so I'm basically like a manager for doctors, and I see patients as well.
You see patients. Now, we always get this question, right? I don't have enough time in my day. I can't train and go to Yale. I can't train and become a doctor. I can't train and do all this other stuff. How did you manage to, concurrently achieve your medical degree and also your black belt? Because you received your black belt when?
2011.
2011. So you were tracking along the same lines, right? I mean, getting better at being a doctor, getting better at jiu-jitsu. So what did you, what's your non-excuse? Like, what did you do to be able to continue training and get your black belt?
It's everything you guys talked about before, but the big thing is just making it a priority. So regardless of what was going on or what I was doing or what was going on in school or in my life, I just had to train. And you develop a routine and stick to the routine almost regardless. So if you're not at the gym, if I'm not at Marco's on Sundays, something's wrong. And I feel weird and I feel guilty.
I feel the same way when you're not at Marco's on Sundays.
I know. That's what I heard. But no, you just get once you get in a routine and you don't adhere to the routine, typically you feel guilty, no matter what it is. If you're not adhering to your routine, you're going to feel guilty. And you just need to like put the time in to establish the routine. I think most habits, they say, takes about 2 weeks to do. So the first 2 weeks will be painful, and then after that you establish somewhat of a routine. And the routine could be whatever. If you're playing video games every day for 2 weeks, you may feel guilty if you're not playing, World of Warcraft or whatever's cool now. But for jiu-jitsu, if I'm not doing it, I feel weird, I feel incomplete. And for a while I couldn't do it because school got too intense. I had several injuries, so I couldn't. But it's always in the back of my mind. All my friends do it, so there's always it's like a magnetic pull pulling me back regardless.
So for you, like as you were going through, like these high levels of education and commitments to be able to be successful in your field, besides the physical benefits of jiu-jitsu, keeping you in shape or staying in shape, being able to defend yourself, like what did it do for you during some of the tougher times of either medical school or residency? Like what were some of the things that you kind of felt like almost like a security blanket with the martial arts?
I'd say for sure confidence and ability to stay calm under severe stress. So for medical training or jobs and things like that, it's pretty easy to stress out. And in many cases, you're actually dealing with life or death situations. Right. People threatening to kill themselves, people threatening to kill you, things like that.
You've had people threaten to kill you?
Yeah, I mean, in the ER and things like that,
right.
People, they scream,
"I'm gonna kill you,"
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then some people react to it. Some people get visibly upset, and
right.
they think they're going to be attacked. And then, 9 times out of 10, these patients aren't going to do anything, but sometimes they will. But I'm able to draw on perhaps my jiu-jitsu knowledge. If this person did do something,
my half guard is sick.
Yeah, I would bear and bowl them down and take control of the situation. No, but seriously, I think just being able to control yourself when things get weird is a huge advantage in life. And I think most jiu-jitsu people have that. I mean, I could say most, because some people just can still have a tendency to spaz out.
Right.
But yeah, I think it helps a lot.
I don't know. We had dinner the other night. I have to tell Tim that he's got to kick into the dinner budget. So, but we had talked about.
But I'm a cheap date though. I didn't.
I mean, you did get scotch or whatever you got.
Oh no.
Is that whiskey?
It was whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
I was drinking water, by the way.
Okay.
Anyway, how some people don't seem to get that out of their martial arts training, don't get the benefits of it. It's almost like the opposite. It exposes more of their problems than builds up their strengths. Some people where I look at them and I'm like, man, this guy was 180, now he's 300 pounds. And he still continues to train, but he doesn't have either the discipline or is self-aware enough to continue training or to continue to work down a path of saying, hey, man, I need to stay in shape, or just certain things like that, or just people that seem like they're very broken and unfixable, and they gravitate towards the martial arts for whatever reason,
Yeah, so I think it's really your intent and how much you check yourself when you're doing it, right? Like, so my whole goal when I'm training is not to get totally and utterly demoralized when I'm rolling. And in the cases when I go to another school and train with someone I've never trained before, or I train with someone who's just ridiculous, I try to check myself and say, okay, how did that go? You got submitted, 4 times in 5 minutes. What happened? What didn't you do? Well, you drank Jameson last night with Marco, so that could be a cause of the problem. Or you haven't worked on your guard in forever. That could be part of the problem. Or you've been rolling with guys and just dominating from the side and not focusing on other areas. So that could be part of the problem. So for me, it's always trying to keep it fresh and think about what I'm doing that's helping and what I'm doing that's hurting. And like Timmy always says, you're always working all of your positions. So it's never like you never just focus on your top game and that's all you're doing. You need to work on your weak points. So work on your bottom game, top game, half guard, everything.
And that's clearly a skill in jiu-jitsu, but also for me, the benefit of that is that skill that carries over into other areas of your life, right? Because like I feel for me, just giving myself as an example, is like if I'm not going to ever say I could be the best at whatever I put my mind to, but I could be way better than I am at it now, right? There's nothing out there that I can't look at like, all right, you know what, man, I can start wrapping my head around this in a much better way. Now this isn't outside of my grasp, or or even if a problem pops up, it's like, okay, I have these defenses through jiu-jitsu where it's like, just relax, calm down. There's going to be an answer to this. The answer may not be evident right now, but it'll eventually present itself, or you'll mine it out. You'll figure out how to get to it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really healthy way of looking at it. and they've, there's fancy terms for this stuff. It's called growth mindset. It's fixed mindset versus growth mindset. It basically, fixed mindset is the idea that people were born. I think I disconnected
Your headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you might want to look at something that's dangling underneath and plug them back in.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. So there's already first technical difficulty.
Oh, I'm back. Okay. Yeah. So for a fixed mindset, basically, you think you're born into it. You think that, people like Marcelo Garcia they were born that way. There's no way you could achieve that. You're not Marcelo Garcia. You didn't grow up in Sao Paulo. You're not Brazilian, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, if you look at it from a growth mindset, where you look at it like jiu-jitsu is a set of skills that can be acquired over a period of time by focusing on said skills incrementally, right? So you start from a white belt, you get a basic knowledge of jiu-jitsu, basic knowledge of all positions, and you progress your way through the belts by being very critical of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and trying to get better at those set of skills as you go along. No one goes from day one being terrible to being phenomenal in one day, and no one walks into any jiu-jitsu gym being phenomenal. You could, from any background, from anything, even if you're a D1 wrestler, you're going to have a gaping weakness when it comes to closed guard because you never have been in closed guard, and it's going to take some time to get better at it, but you will get better at it with time. And I think with that kind of mindset, or that way of looking at things, from the terms of you could put hard work into things and you will get definite results. For me, because whatever, I'm a doctor now, but I was a total knucklehead to start. I didn't do well in high school. I didn't do well on my SATs.
Well, when you say you didn't do well in high school, what's that? Kind of what's not doing well for you? That's relative,
So
because I got thrown out of a magnet high school in my freshman year. Like, that's not doing well. I had to get put into a different high school. Like, my parents were so proud of me that I got into a magnet high school, like the number 2 high school in the city.
Wow.
And then
they kicked you out?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I didn't go to class.
Oh.
I was cutting class. And I didn't, I was in, like, no. Well, what were your grades like? What were you?
I went to school. I never missed a day of school, but I
didn't miss school. I cut class.
Oh, yeah. So
That's a distinction.
I never missed school, but I just didn't do the work. Okay. So my GPA was, basically, you can put it this way. I applied to Temple and I didn't get in. I had to go to community college for a year before I got into Temple.
Really?
Yeah. So I went to Bucks County Community College. Shout out to Bucks County Community College.
BCCC.
A lot of C's. Yeah.
Yeah.
BC cubed.
BC cubed. Okay.
BC cubed.
Yeah, I had no clue. So talk about shitty white belt student.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I didn't know how to study.
How pissed were your parents?
They weren't pissed. Maybe they were pissed. I don't know.
But you have immigrant parents like I have.
Yeah, they're like Jamaican parents. They want you to become
probably have like 17 jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doctor. They want you to be a
Shout
doctor.
Shout out to all my Jamaicans out there.
You think there's Jamaicans listening?
Well, hopefully your family will listen.
Maybe. But yeah, basically I didn't do anything. So, and then in college I just buckled down, spent a lot of time in the library.
So it kind of came together for you at BC Cubed?
Yeah, and that's ironically, so it's hard to separate the two, what started what, but I started jiu-jitsu when I was in BC, in Bucks County Community College. So I started jiu-jitsu in 2000, and that's when I was in Bucks.
Because when we went to dinner and we were talking about this idea, it kind of percolating through my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, are you who you are, or are you who you become?
No, you're definitely who you become.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the saying "life is a journey" is a good saying for a reason, because you're going to progress based on what you do, and I think if you act with intention, that's the way to get things done, and that's the way to improve. So
now your career, your academic career, and your jiu-jitsu career, kind of they're tracking along even at the same time period.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think one had anything to do with the other, or they just happen to happen at the same time?
I don't think you could separate the two, because I definitely got obsessed with jiu-jitsu at the same time I got obsessed with doing better. But maybe I just got obsessed with doing better, and jiu-jitsu was there at the time when I just didn't want to. I basically didn't want to quit. I wasn't going to quit anything.
So you went from a guy that couldn't get into Temple. You go to BC Cubed 1 year, then you get into Temple.
Mm-hmm.
And how did things go for you at Temple?
At Temple, the first year was a little. I think I got a C in some communications class that I thought, in my opinion, was a joke. And then after that, I was committed, and I never got a C again.
Okay,
basically.
And then you were able. So after Temple, that's when you got into Yale.
No, after I went to Temple undergrad, then I went to Temple Medical School.
Okay.
And then I went to Yale. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But even then, so I went to medical school, and it's the same thing. It's just like when you train at your gym, you may be the big guy at the gym or the gym enforcer, and then you go to Henzo's or Donaher's or wherever,
Marcelo's
wherever, and you are nobody, and you get destroyed. And it's the same thing from med school. Everyone there is super smart.
Right.
So I thought
even the dumb people are smart, right?
yeah,
Right.
Even I probably thought I was one of the dumb people, but in reality, we're all pretty smart. I think.
Right.
Smart. So let's not use smart. We were all hard.
You-
we were all
you-
hard
you-
workers.
You were really giving me the business on using the term smart.
Growth mindset. Yeah.
I know, but I want my daughter to believe that she's smart.
Yeah, but I mean, you could be just a hard worker and still end up.
So, I'm sorry to cut you, and you're
gonna cut me off a
I'll cut you
lot.
off an awful
Yeah,
lot,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
I have
right.
shit I gotta say.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I used to tell her that she was going to be my best student. Then I had to stop because there's no how is she going to be my best student? I said, but you could be my hardest working.
Yeah, that's a good
Right?
idea.
Yeah. And that's what I kind of started telling her. But I digress. So you finish up at Yale, and then the world is your oyster.
No, but and then I had to get a job and figure out how to work and how to direct other people, how to direct counselors, how to talk to other psychiatrists.
But you're training the whole time. You're doing jujitsu just about through this whole period.
Yeah, so I got hurt.
Is that your ACL or
I tore my ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus.
was
Similar
that
to that.
a tournament or
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was at some tournament.
Grappler's Quest? I think I might have been there for that.
Yeah, it was during med school that I had that tournament. But I tore everything, and then I had to. It was in Virginia. I tore everything. It was I don't know what it was.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You tore your knee up.
I tore everything, and I had to take off. I took off for a year, and then when I was in Connecticut, I started training again, and I had basically, knock on wood, haven't had any major injuries since then.
Good. And you've gotten back into competing a little bit recently, right? Because you used to compete a decent amount.
Yeah, I competed a decent amount, but then just got busy with school and stuff, and I guess now I'm elderly. I don't compete as much. But me and Timmy competed last year. We went to Virginia.
Yeah, you guys
and
did
we
pretty
competed.
well, right?
Yeah, we did good. I got gold and a silver. It was good.
Now, what was driving you when you were competing more actively? What was what were some of the things that drove you to compete?
I had time was one thing,
Right.
and definitely
A lot of people have time.
yeah. But definitely competing. Even when I competed in Virginia last year, I noticed so many things that I was doing wrong or just highly inefficient, using way more muscle than I needed to use. And when you compete, it's like the proving ground for if the stuff that you're doing is actually working. And when you compete, you can really figure out if it's working or not, versus if it's just something you do and you get away with at the gym. And it's an opportunity to really assess, honestly, what's going on and if my jiu-jitsu was any good.
Yeah. So this is a nice segue into because Tim is going to be doing Fight to Win again. I have one of my students, Rachel. She's doing Fight to Win.
Yeah.
And we had talked about this the other day about
Mm-hmm.
how do people prepare for competition. We even talked about the idea is performance anxiety, something that comes up. Is that a real thing or not? And you and I kind of I believe we're tracking down the same path where there's either one or two ways that you become a good competitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You compete an awful lot and you train at your school, right? Or your school is hyper focused on competition. So every single class, every single movement, every single training session revolves around what the specific rule set is for competition. And then you compete and it just magnifies either your ability or your inability to compete. I mean, I don't see any other model for competition,
Right. But even no matter what you're doing at your gym, I don't think you can, even if you, like you're saying, you can replicate the sound of
simulate
the gym.
matches, right?
I mean, I think it's an excellent idea to simulate the circumstances of the tournament as much as possible. So you want the rules set to be whatever when you're rolling to resemble the tournament you're going to go to. You want the, if you can, have the sound be the same way with people
the
yelling.
one thing that always seems difficult to replicate is the intensity. There's something about that competitive intensity that you've never been grabbed as hard as somebody's going to grab you in a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Right, and that's why you really want to find good training partners who are going to try to replicate that. You want like a good, strong competitor who's going to know what it's going to be like when you compete. But honestly, so I wrestled in high school. In wrestling, there really wasn't many times where you would wrestle as hard as you did at the tournament.
Right.
Just like with football. No one who plays professional football practices live like they're going to do that Sunday.
They shouldn't, right? I mean,
Right.
if they want a long-term performance, right? Unless we're on high levels of performance-enhancing drugs.
Right. The weird thing about jiu-jitsu is we roll as much as we do. We kind of simulate live activity as much as we do, more so than I guess most other sports. In a way where you could seriously damage yourself from practicing for competition. So all that being said, I think it's important for people who are getting ready for a competition to drill. Drilling is the best thing you could do because what it does is get the moves into your body, into your bones, into your subconscious.
Right. Tim and I have talked about the idea of executing moves.
Right. So you guys talked about that. So other things you could do.
No, I think that but drilling.
You want to talk more?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Because look, there's a lot of different ways you could drill, right? You could just drill a mindless movement, and you could drill it where you look like, my God, this person just came out of the Matrix,
Right?
And it's a digitized movement,
Right.
But that's not the reality of how this move is going to be when we go to do it, even in live hard training. It's never, no matter how you drill it, it's never how. So no matter how you statically drill it, it's never how it's going to be in a live kind of ever-changing environment.
Right, but it's closer to what it's going to be than never drilling it at all, right?
So what I think, with drilling, and you might, there's probably data or science or whatever behind it, is that you're really just teaching yourself this is the correct way to get to the movement.
Right. I mean, I think the idea behind drilling is that you want to get to the point where you're doing this movement without thinking about it. Like golfers practice their driving over and over and over again because when it comes time for the big tournament, when they're in Georgia or whatever, and they want to hit the ball where they need to hit the ball, they're doing it without thinking about it. They're doing it there's not as much emphasis on getting it right because they've done it so many times.
What about mental imagery then as well? Like with your drilling, thinking about either moves, thinking about executing techniques, thinking about matches.
I mean, that's basically what I had to do a lot of times when I couldn't find time to train. So I'd end up, if I was in the library or wherever I was when I got home, or just daydreaming at work, being a bouncer, just thinking about a particular move.
Bro, you were a bouncer?
Oh yeah, I was a bouncer. I think isn't every jiu-jitsu blue belt a bouncer?
Usually.
Yeah. So I was a bouncer. Yeah.
You're usually the chillest bouncers ever too.
Oh yeah. Because you're not. I didn't get hit once.
I never got, when I was the doorman in Old City.
No.
I was just like, yeah, bro, come on.
I got a dread pulled out once, but that's
it. Used to have dreads.
Long flowing dreads. Yeah.
Beautiful locks.
Beautiful. But no, seriously, the imagery though, they've done tests with Olympic athletes and things like that. So for Olympic athletes, if you're running hurdles, literally they close their eyes, think about doing hurdles, and they jump the hurdles in their head. So which seems kind of weird because it's kind of like not a thing you'd want to think about, but they do that. So the same thing with getting ready for a tournament. You want to think about what you're going to do from your feet. I'm going to go for a double leg takedown. I'm going to take him down and just be as specific as possible what you're going to do. I'm going to go for an over-under pass, get to side mount, go for Americana. He's not going to let me get it. I'm going to pass him out. Just be very specific about what you're going to do. And the studies have shown that the people on the podium who do mental imagery, end up on the podium.
All right. So let me ask you then about that. So if we're coaching Tim or Rachel and we say, hey, we want you to do mental imagery, do we give them a set series of things that these are the only things that they're doing in their mental imagery? Because I would like to know how to, at least in Rachel's case, coach her better, because I'm telling her, think of your walkout music, see yourself walking out, see yourself hitting a takedown, whatever that takedown is, and kind of change the takedown every time. Because of the dynamic nature of jiu-jitsu, the other person has clearly some input onto what you may have the ability to do. So say if I'm going down a model of I'm only my only mental imagery is the double leg tackle.
Right.
And I'm like, I haven't hit a double leg tackle this whole match.
So the thing is, I think, again, you have to be very specific about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. So you're not just doing a double leg out of nowhere. You got to think about your setups, how you're going to lead into it. Because even some of the best boxers, best wrestlers, they do pretty much the same moves every time they come into the fight, and they win the fight.
Yeah, come and beat me. Like you know what my best stuff is. Come and beat me.
And they still win. I mean, obviously they're gonna have to change up their game for their opponent, especially things like in the UFC when you got reels and reels of film.
And everybody's a sick, crazy athlete.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to change it up. But I think if you know your opponent, you know what you're getting into, you should be able to have a game plan and execute that game plan in your head before the match ever takes place.
So what I'm telling Rachel is you're going to start with this, with your mental imagery.
You don't want to give away what she's going to do.
No, I'm being very,
Okay.
what's the word? Coy.
koi.
Okay, that's koi. Okay. You're going to do this first, this next, this next, hand raised.
Exactly.
Okay.
But as specific as possible as she can get. I mean, she could run a timer. That the match is what, 5 minutes?
I think it's 6 because she's a purple belt. So.
So 6 minutes fight to win. She should set a timer for.
By the way, she's my this week's shirt sponsor, Wolf Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. As we know, Devin did the logo. By the way, bro, you got to go take pictures over there.
She sent me pictures of it on the wall, but I gotta see.
From the street.
Yeah,
looks sick.
Yeah.
It really, really pops.
Everyone likes it. Social media is going wild about
There's like
the logo.
It's like double digits, double-digit likes.
Double digit.
So yeah, my T-shirt sponsor today. If anybody else wants to sponsor me for T-shirts, the only thing I ask is that it be nice and soft, form-fitting, possibly, because I am in good shape right now. And I will wear your T-shirt on my podcast.
You don't want anything rough on your nipples.
No,
That rough cotton.
I leave that for Saturday evenings.
Right. Oh. Right.
Nipple roughness.
Oh.
Hey, bro.
Oh.
This is a family episode. But going back.
Do you?
Yes, I shall. So very specific. This grip fight, this guard pull, this takedown, this sweep,
yes,
this guard pass,
yes,
blah 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 blah.
Yes,
blah.
very as specific as you can get.
All right.
Because that's the stuff that is really going to help you get it done.
Now, if she drills that combination, then working hand in hand, right? So mental imagery and physical drilling, is there some nexus where there's really like a sweet spot there?
So I'd say
I use the word nexus.
Yeah, I'll use the word. There's a synergistic effect.
Nice.
Right? So when you combine the two, it does nothing but help out one another. But the mental imagery in and of itself keeps those moves alive in your brain, right? So you're keeping those tracks alive. That's saying like you're gonna put your hand here and you're gonna put your feet here when you do whatever. You're keeping those things alive when you think about it. So when you actually go to do it, you won't have the same problem. So I know I've had this issue many times. On vacation, can't train or won't train, just being lazy, and I just think about whatever move I want to do. And then when I go to train, as long as I'm not like a complete turd and I'm able to do some cardio or something like that, and I go back to the gym, I'm able to hit the move that I was thinking about just because I was thinking about it. And I'm not a complete turd. And my muscles still work and things like that. Yeah.
I think everybody listening to this podcast right now could just really tell that the level of intelligence with you here has shot up tremendously.
Yeah, turd's a good term.
Not the word turd, but just having you here instead of Tim.
Oh. Well, no, Tim, I think he's pretty intelligent.
Come on, bro. Did he go to Yale?
No.
No. Did he go to Temple?
No.
Did he go to BC Cubed?
No.
No. Well,
I think
there we have it.
I think the biggest thing is he didn't go to BC Cubed.
Yeah, BC Cubed seemed like the real jumping off point.
It's the proving ground.
So now the fight to win is an interesting format that Tim and Rachel are going to be doing because it's a little bit more nerve-wracking, I think, because there's the official walkout. It's as close as a jiu-jitsu person can get to fighting in the UFC if they never want to fight in the UFC, if they don't want to do MMA.
But they're not fighting. They're grappling.
They're not fighting. They're grappling. Right. What I mean is the feel of it.
Yeah.
Fans.
Yeah.
There might be 500, 600, 700 people there watching it. You know, the people have sold tickets. You walk out to walkout music. You have a coach. You have cornermen.
If you've never been to a fight to win, definitely go.
Those things are awesome, aren't they?
It's amazing. And they run seamlessly. The
match after match. Big fan.
Runs like a Tokyo subway. Excellent.
You've been to Tokyo?
I've been to Tokyo. The subway... 8:52. The trains are 8:52.
Here's another thing.
I'm just dropping.
There's so many layers to you, unlike Tim Carpenter. Tim Carpenter is like a reflection pool.
He doesn't speak Japanese. I speak Japanese too.
Come on.
Well,
Fluent?
No. I can say like...
You could say Japanese words.
I can say 3 words now, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's not speaking Japanese.
Yeah.
I get it.
Whatever.
You said man, talk about a unicorn. You walking around Japan?
So when I went, it was during cherry blossom season. So like all the flowers or whatever. So I would be taking pictures of the cherry blossoms, and I had like this old Japanese guy and like this old camera taking pictures of me. I just had to laugh. It was fun.
Awesome.
There was no. I don't think I saw any other black people while I was there.
Wow. Yeah. And I think it's a very homogenized society there that they don't let outsiders move to Japan to live.
I love Japan. I can't wait to go back. But they are. I think the term is xenophobic.
Yes, they're afraid of aliens.
They're afraid of anyone that's not Japanese.
Gotcha.
They pretty much. And that's why the population is plummeting, right? Because
it really? Yeah.
They won't.
I thought that would be related to Fukushima.
That too, but they won't marry out of the race, and they don't you can't, as a foreigner, become Japanese. So there's no route for Marco to become Japanese. Unlike this.
What's that song? I think I'm turning Japanese. I think so. I can't do that.
No.
That song lied to me.
No. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I can't turn Japanese.
No.
Oh well. You know what? I didn't like Hirohito anyway.
Was that like a big song when you were in high school? I'm turning Japanese.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm a bit older than you.
It's a little, a bit.
Whoa. How old are you?
I'm not gonna say that on the air. Because what if I want to be younger and they can reference this?
We have hundreds of listeners.
But this is on the internet now.
I know. I got it.
It's out there.
We have hundreds of
It's
listeners.
out there forever.
So a few hundred people will know.
So we can start now. So I'm 25.
Congratulations. We've done a lot with your life at this age.
Yeah.
So going back to Fight to Win, and maybe we'll talk about you being in Tokyo. That's all. Because I've always wanted to go to Japan. Did you train while you were there?
No, I was hurt. That's when I hurt my knee.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it's different than Grappler's Quest. I know they don't do Grappler's Quest anymore. IBJJF, which is, you have multiple matches, and then, either you get to the podium or you don't. This is more of a submission only. Have you done submission only yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So the submission only is interesting, and I like that rule set for this as a spectator sport, right? It's either you submit your opponent or 3 judges decide based on your submission attempts if you want. So positional dominance doesn't really come into play unless there's been no submissions.
The thing I don't like is the ref's decision, because you kind of get a crapshoot in terms of the refs. And if the match is very close, the ref's decision
what the old saying is?
ends up being arbitrary. Yeah.
Don't let the ref decide.
Yeah. But I think
I hate when people say that.
for that particular kind of match, I think the EBI rule set's better.
With the positional
overtime
spider
thing.
web or taking the back. I can see that. Yeah.
Because then it's at least a little more clear in terms of who's
and I like how you get to run. If I get submitted, then if I could submit you in under that amount of time, I win.
right.
If you arm lock me from spider web
Right.
in a minute, if I get it in 50 seconds, I'm declared the winner because it took me less time.
It's very black and white. Where in the fight to win, I
Much
know
like this podcast today.
what I can't.
Come on, bro.
I can't follow.
Ebony and
Oh,
ivory.
black and white.
Yeah, come on.
I'm not
Michael
that.
Jackson and the other guy.
Everything doesn't.
The other guy from the Beatles.
Everything doesn't boil down to race for me, Marco. That's why. So some of that stuff's gonna go over my head. Sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tim claims I'm a racist, but I'm not.
Yeah. Wasn't there something about the internet about you being racist?
Oh, man.
Wasn't-
Yes.
Didn't that come
I had a woman call me racist on the internet, and thankfully you came to my defense. I believe you posted a picture of me and my family to explain to her that I wasn't racist.
Hold on, did you say Michael Jackson and somebody,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you meant Stevie Wonder?
No.
Oh, I was actually thinking of Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo. That's my original reference.
It's because he's racist. He's just,
That song's like kind of old for me, but I just was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And I pressed Google right now and was like, no.
yeah. It's a Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney, right?
I said some guy from the Beatles.
Oh god. But he just black musician file. Lucky he didn't say like Puffy or something like that.
Nah, come on, bro.
Yeah,
I know. Maybe I don't know my blind R&B singers, but I do know my rap producers.
So when I was at Yale, there was only one other black guy.
I like how you dropped that again. Yes, you did go to an Ivy League school. Good
now
for you.
that now that the
the seal's been broken.
yeah, I can just keep on saying it. But there was only one other black guy
On the whole campus.
well, in my class.
Okay.
And maybe 2 others in the whole campus.
When you say black guy, African guy, African American.
he actually was, African American, but he's from Africa. He was basically 3 shades darker, maybe 5 inches taller, glasses.
Was his name Joel Embiid?
Frank.
Okay.
Love Frank. Frank, if you're listening, love you, Frank. A full head of hair. Basically looked nothing like me. And people would call me Frank all the time. I had like an EKG result, and I had to you have to sign off on EKGs, and the EKG said Frank Campbell, and I had to take a picture and send it to my girlfriend at the time, because they confused me all the time. It was the most difficult thing for them to differentiate between me and Frank, even though Frank looked nothing like me.
And he was way taller. Had a head of hair.
Way more handsome, yeah.
I don't know about the whole handsome part. I haven't seen this guy. So, but taller. Anyway, so I digress. We go back to Fight to Win. You like the format.
No.
You don't like the format.
No.
You don't like Fight to Win at all.
I like Fight to Win. I love the format. I love the flow. I don't like the judges. That's what I know.
All right, so
I don't like the judges.
So you would say institute the EBI rules to give you a definitive. Well, because
But the trade-off to that is it wouldn't run like a Tokyo subway.
Right.
If you had
Because you could get some matches.
there'd
that
be
kinda
overtimes that
go,
would just kind of drag on
Right.
forever. So that's, I think, or you could try to be consistent with the quality of the judging. There needs to be some kind of like judging standard.
I agree with you there because they'll just sometimes just pull guys.
Sometimes you're like, that dude's the judge?
Yeah. Like, what is he? You
Yeah.
know, like I have blue belts that know more than that guy. Yeah, and he shouldn't be judging like a hot dog eating contest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, Fight to Win. Rachel and Tim are going to be competing on it. If you want to get tickets, you could go to Nitro Tickets. Remember, if you want to sponsor me for T-shirts, send me a
Or
T-shirt.
contact them directly. They get money, right?
Yeah, but if you go to Nitro Tickets and you pick their name,
Yeah.
they'll get it. They get
Oh,
50%.
that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you were recently at Marcelo Garcia's school. How long ago was that?
I was like, probably 2 months ago or 2-3 months before the summer.
Right. And after your visit, he came out with a statement
Yeah.
about talking shit.
Yeah. It's,
That some people might feel that's directly related to the day you were there.
it may have been. No. So when I roll.
So so Marcelo basically came out and said he doesn't like the state of jiu-jitsu trash talking. He doesn't feel that trash talking is a benefit. You can't.
It was more about competition.
Competition,
though,
right. Hyping up fights, and that it felt like listening to the interview that we're losing some of the respect, some of the martial aspect of it with all of the trash talking that occurs between competitive grapplers, where he goes, I never needed that. I just wanted to go out there and win.
Right. So
your experience at Marcelo talking, I believe you said you were talking shit to Johnny Grippo.
you can use names, Marco?
Yeah, Johnny Grippo.
Jesus.
Yeah. Like I said, our hundreds of listeners might send this to him.
No, so basically, I went there to train. It was great. Loved the gym. Talk about drilling. When you go there, there's people rolling, and then there's people just drilling, doing nothing else but passing guard over and over again, the same move. So, that's what you're going to see at these higher level competition schools. Anyway, typically when I get in trouble when I'm rolling versus a superior opponent, I'll end up talking shit to some extent. I'll say things like, I'm going to get you now, or just any real smart aleck comment to make myself feel better in the moment. Complete and utter crickets, not even like a part smile.
He didn't even crack a smile.
Not even crack a smile.
This guy's like, I don't think he's ever won a world championship. He might be a Pan Am champ, and he's obviously
really good,
top of the
notch.
food chain,
Yes.
competitively in his weight class for sure.
And they don't know me from a can of paint either. So
You didn't tell them you went to Yale?
didn't
come up?
That didn't come up.
Okay.
No, that didn't come up. So basically, atmosphere there is very serious. We're here to train. We're not here to bullshit. That kind of thing. Versus any other place I've been to in Philly, you can kind of bullshit with people and end up joking around while you're rolling. Even have with some people full conversations. Santini.
I thought I heard somebody's name.
Oh no, never.
Okay.
But it's just different. It's just different, and I think it speaks to the seriousness at the gym. But going back to what I think Marcelo said about talking shit, I think it has its place. I think sometimes it just depends on the setting. If you're dealing with kids, there's no reason to talk shit. You're
like a children's
like
class.
a children's one.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for any parents to say anything or the kids to say anything
to each other for sure.
For there, you're focused on.
I when and I've been teaching kids now for a year. If there's even if I sniff that out, I stamp it out right away.
No reason for that, because it's going to discourage kids and give them the wrong impression. For tournaments like IBJJA or IBJJF tournaments or a fight to win, talking shit is superfluous. There's no reason to talk shit.
But also, there's rules against it at the IBJJF.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you talk to your opponent or you talk to the referee, you can be disqualified.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's clear rules that you can't talk shit.
Yeah, fight to win, I don't know if the rules allow or don't allow that.
But then for fight to win, there's really no advantage. Okay, I think there's two reasons why you want to talk shit.
But, so is he referring to talking shit prior to build up a match or during to get in your opponent's head? Or both?
I'd argue both.
Okay.
Right. So, and I think there's only two reasons to talk shit: either to sell tickets or to get in your opponent's head, or to get in your opponent's head.
So I think there's really only one reason to do it. It's to sell tickets, because I don't see I think it does work, but I think it's really unbecoming.
Do you think Conor McGregor would have knocked out Jose Aldo in such spectacular fashion if he hadn't talked so much shit and gotten to his head beforehand?
It's clearly impossible to answer that question. Right. But I think the outcome would have still been the outcome.
Do you think Muhammad Ali would have knocked out Sonny Liston?
Yes.
There's no way. There's no way you would have known. There's no way to
but
tell.
you're asking me. Well, we'll suspend disbelief, right?
But I mean, that's a part.
So his skill is his skill.
But for Conor, for people who talk shit, Conor, Muhammad Ali, it's a part of their skill set. It gets in their opponent's head. Their opponents do foolish things that they normally wouldn't do to otherwise equally matched people.
Right.
If you talk shit and get in your opponent's head and get him to do something otherwise wouldn't do, that's a win for you.
Right. But so let's look at Muhammad Ali when he lost to Joe Frazier, or when Conor McGregor lost to Khabib. Like
And that's the downside of talking
Right,
shit, because you look real bad.
right, and okay, where was the benefit of it then? So right, where it becomes a motivator for your opponent.
I think, like I said, I think it only helps for equally matched opponents, or how much. It really depends on how much you. Because
I mean,
Conor
look,
clearly did not get into Khabib's head.
Right, clearly not. Yeah,
Khabib could care less. So
Right.
Conor was
I think Khabib was saying, "Talk now," as he's like punching him in the face. Talk. You got something to say? Talk now.
and I think that really speaks put my psychiatrist hat on. That speaks to the mental fragility of some opponents. Like a guy like Khabib is not gonna. I mean, he's from what? Dagestan?
Yeah.
They don't play. I mean,
No.
do you see the basketball they play? Like the Dagestan
but
basketball?
You know those guys, they've produced more Olympic world champions. Like in one Olympics, you might have 6 guys in the same weight class from Dagestan.
Yeah.
They just can't make their own country's team, and they'll go to a different country and still have the possibility of winning a gold. It's insane how good the wrestling is out there.
So, my opinion, mental toughness is an essential part of any competitor.
Right.
And for Marcelo's argument, it kind of eliminates that aspect of a fighter, because you're saying, I mean, it's beautiful, right? You're going to see someone practice the art of jiu-jitsu or boxing or whatever without without having to worry about people talking shit.
Right.
But the moment someone starts talking shit, you get to experience the true metal of that person. Like when SEALs are training and they go through Hell Week or whatever, they're not just lifting logs up on their head in silence. They have someone barking at their face, telling them you're a piece of shit. You shouldn't be here. Go home now. And they're not doing that for any other reason other than to see how tough they can be and how much shit they could take.
Right. If they can find the crack in their psyche. Right?
Yeah. And that's what people like Conor and Ali, that's what they're fishing for. And they may not find it, but if they do find it and they pull on that string, some guys fall apart.
Right. So to me, it's not my style, right? Like I have no like I love busting on people. I love all that other stuff. But from a standpoint of combat athletes, I get it sells tickets. Some guys do it really well. The guys that don't are terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And that's I think part of the reason why a lot of it I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like Conor McGregor does a great job.
He's
of it.
witty, funny, entertaining.
Floyd Mayweather does like I don't even think he's as good as Conor. Because it's
talking shit.
Yeah, talking shit.
Okay, no.
But he's really good at, because he's got certain things that he'll talk to you about.
Right.
His money, and you're poor, and
Right.
I'm rich, and like all that other stuff. And if you get caught up in that, then that might bother you.
But it's not really that entertaining. I like Conor better.
Yeah, so do
I agree.
But I think for me, it's just it doesn't. I will say this: when it's for real, when it's real dislike, not when it's me trying to get in your head, like when it was Artem Lobov versus Paulie Malignaggi. In the bare knuckle boxing, I felt like that was real dislike. I felt like these guys were like, this was something you would see in the neighborhood. Two dudes beefing.
I just love the fact that Rumble Johnson was a security guard, like a guard for the weigh-ins.
Yeah, and he's like 270 pounds.
He's enormous.
He fought at 170.
Right.
He just lost to Craig Jones via heel hook in like 30 seconds.
Isn't Craig Jones like your best friend?
He's my Australian best friend. So anybody from the Oceania area, if you've seen Craig, tell him I said what's up. So Marcelo's against it. I see why. And his personality is as such that you wouldn't think that he's somebody that is for shit talking. Like he's just not that guy. I mean, and he throws guys out that do that. He got rid of Dylan Dennis. He got rid of Manshur Kera, or Munch as they call him.
But jiu-jitsu isn't the kind of sport where talking shit's necessarily going to help, because we're not on a level where fights are being promoted.
Right, 200,000 pay-per-views. Like, that's not going to help.
At best, you have...
You know who does a really good job of it is Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan is able to stir the pot to be able to get, I think, a lot of social media traction.
Oh, my God. When he was going to fight for Doom, I think the internet, the jiu-jitsu internet partially exploded waiting for that to happen, but it didn't happen.
And then he's going, like, after Galvao and put up $1 million. So I see why some of these guys do it, but there's only a few guys that could do it and can make money with it. Everybody else jumps on and thinks it's the formula, and it's not. There's one North Star.
I think talking shit is an excellent skill if you're good at it. If you're not good at it, it becomes like the verbal butt drag.
So this is another great segue into kind of the mental health or the mental strength of fighters and martial artists.
You're just gonna shake off the verbal butt drag? I thought that was good.
It was amazing.
All right.
Sometimes you just let it
ride.
You just let it sit there and let people admire it.
I wanted a pat on the back.
You didn't need to point out that you said something witty.
I wanted a pat on the back.
If this were Tim, I'd be livid right now, but I'm just gonna let it slide.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
I was gonna let it slide.
yeah,
I'll let it
okay,
slide.
all right. What were you saying? You're saying something?
I'm sorry, I was singing that Paul McCartney song.
Oh.
Anyway, so the mental health or
Racist.
mental strength.
What?
Clearly not.
You're outnumbered here.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous. So the mental strength or the mental health of martial artists or fighters, right? And you would think that with all the intense training, with all the hardship that boxing training gives you, mixed martial arts training, jiu-jitsu training gives you, that even if a guy talks crap to you, that you'd almost be immune to it.
Yeah, but it's a totally different skill set. It's like being excellent at jiu-jitsu and not being able to deadlift worth shit.
No, that I get, right? I completely understand that. And I can wrap my head around that easier. But
Sounds right.
yes,
Yeah.
if somebody talks shit, I'm like, I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't, like, this person has no effect on what I'm doing. How they feel about me it's none of my business how you feel about me.
I think you talk a lot of shit. So, and in your practice of talking shit, you learn to defend yourself against other people talking shit, so you don't take it personally. Just like in your practice of jiu-jitsu, you don't take it personally when someone triangles you or armbars you. You're just used to it. And if you're not in the practice of talking shit, so I venture to guess Marcelo Garcia doesn't necessarily talk shit all as much as we do.
Right.
So
Arm locks the shit out of people.
but he'll arm lock and guillotine the shit out of you, right? So it's just not something they do. And I'm sure Conor and Mayweather and all those people, when they bullshit with their boys, they're just talking shit nonstop.
Right.
And they're in their head, they're like always prepared to talk shit, like, or comedians like Kevin Hart and blah blah blah. They are constantly talking shit.
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan?
Kevin Hart, I don't think, even though he's from Philly, I don't think he's that funny.
You're one of the millions who aren't a fan. Or wait, opposite. No, he has millions of fans,
Yes,
but
yeah.
you're not one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I think the point is, if you're not used to talking shit and someone's talking shit to you, it's going to get on your nerves. And if you don't have the skill set, and if you have the skill set to back up that shit talking, you're a real problem.
So what does a guy who doesn't talk shit, right? He's dealing with somebody that talks shit to him.
Mm-hmm.
How does he deal with it?
And I think this kind of goes into some of the questions we got. So honestly, I mean, you might want to go see a therapist or like an analyst and just really probe the inner workings of your mind and find out what you feel insecure about.
Your whole voice changed when you went into this psychiatric talk.
Oh, my hat, yeah.
Yeah.
But you really want to figure out. I mean, if you don't talk shit, maybe you should start talking shit, or just they can rent you for an hour or so and have you talk shit to them incessantly.
We
the
can
way
even
you
do it via the phone.
Skype, text,
Skype me in.
Yeah, it's just practice. I think it's just practice.
So if you're getting ready to compete or fight against someone that talks, so you're saying hire me as a shit talking coach.
Yeah.
I could even write responses for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like we said, you want to set and setting. You want to make sure that you're practicing in the same setting that you're going to be competing in. If you're fighting Conor McGregor and you don't have someone on your team that talks shit, hire Marco.
By the way, Ali beat Sonny Liston because the fight was fixed.
Oh, I was unaware.
Wasn't the shit talk? Have you ever seen the video of Ali rushing Sonny Liston at the craps table in Vegas, and Sonny Liston pulls a gun out and fires it into the air, and then fires it into his own coat to show everybody it was blanks? Ali goes running.
Well, I mean, a lot of the fights with the shit talking is staged, like with Conor and Mayweather on tour. They're on the same.
That was. I don't think that was real. That they were on the same plane.
Oh no,
No.
that was.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's get into mental health and the martial arts, right? And for me, having gone through some super stressful periods in my life, I don't think shit talking affects me. Maybe by what you're saying is because I'm used to it, and kind of growing up in the city might be helpful.
In Philadelphia particularly,
and I hung out in pool rooms for a long time. I hung out in casinos for a long time. I hung out around very seedy people for a long time.
Philly is a tough city. I mean, if you go to California with a Philly attitude, people think there's something wrong with you. Like, why are you being so mean? You're like, I'm not being mean. I'm just
being me.
I'm being Philly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for me, and I've talked about this in the past, like some of the darkest times of my life, going through what I had to go through, I really feel like had it not been for my ability to get into my school, teach, and more so for me, roll, I'd have what I don't even know what a nervous breakdown is. I use the term all the time. I said I probably would have had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, nervous breakdown is a general term for any psychological problems. You could be schizophrenic, bipolar, panic attack. It all works for nervous breakdown. But I'd say it depends, right? Because it's not like jiu-jitsu is the cure-all for any disease or any health condition. Because
for all my students out there listening, it still is the cure-all for all diseases.
no, I mean, because people who are depressed, or example, if you're like maybe it makes a difference if you're doing it for money, and I think it does. But just because you're an athlete doesn't mean you're not at risk for being depressed, anxious. I mean, there's a lot of really anxious athletes out there. But I think the important part of it is that, one, you're exercising, which helps tremendously. I couldn't stress that more. Just exercising, and if you have any like a mild case of depression or anxiety, exercise and therapy alone can replace any medication that I could give. That huge. So any patient I have and they're having issues with depression, anxiety.
So would you kind of write somebody a prescription of roll 3 times a week, do 1.5 hours of jiu-jitsu, go to the gym?
Yes.
You know, like
if that's what they're into. I had a couple of patients that were into like MMA or jiu-jitsu. And I said, you need to get back in the gym. You should start training again. I mean, it just depends what you're into. If you don't want to train jiu-jitsu.
covered by insurance?
No. But there are some places where they do yoga and work out, and and the insurance will pay for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I was cutting you off trying to be cute.
But yeah.
So my mental health was definitely, I believe, I do truly believe that my brain chemistry has changed going through what I went through, and I feel like I'm a much different person. So I feel I'm a much better person as well.
I think you could say this. Any type of exercise helps, period. If you have a severe case of anxiety, depression, or whatever it may be, you're probably better served going to your doctor and saying, hey, I have this issue. I've been working out, I've been doing X, Y, Z, but it's not helping. What else should I do? In that case, definitely do it. But if you're working from a baseline of already working out and you still feel miserable, then please, by all means, go get help. If you're operating from a place where you feel kind of depressed and this isn't severe, you don't want to hurt yourself or kill yourself or anything like that, and you're not working out and you're kind of sitting on your couch and playing World of Warcraft or whatever.
Bro, this is the second shot you took at World of Warcraft.
I'm not a fan. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead. Go on.
If you're not doing anything like that, then if you're not working out, then definitely start working out and then see how you feel. As long as you're safe, you can experiment with different types of exercising. I obviously recommend jiu-jitsu because it's very addicting, lots of fun. You meet a lot of friendly, maybe semi-racist people, but it's a good time.
Okay. So when I was going through those dark periods,
I guess they couldn't see me point at you.
and kind of shake your
And
hand.
kinda shake my hand.
If they're
But
on YouTube.
Yeah, okay, got it.
So what was occurring for me, right? So when I would kind of be home and kind of really just crying and depressed over what was going on, right? And then I'd be able, I'd still sack up, as they say, and go to work and take care of my responsibilities. I would always feel better after hard training.
Yeah, so I think jiu-jitsu just offers it, or any exercise, but this is about jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu in particular just gives you a decent foundation. There's always something to fall back on. If I have a bad day or I've had a bad morning or whatever, I go train. 9 times out of 10, I feel better and I'm able to deal with the problem with way less stress. Just because I trained for the day, I got it out, and I can kind of operate in the world. For anyone who doesn't have that, I feel real bad for them because for everyone who does it, it helps tremendously. But again, it's not like a cure-all. It's not like a panacea. Just because you do jiu-jitsu is not going to make you invulnerable to depression and anxiety and things like that.
Gotcha. All right. So going into, like what it did for me even now, right, is kind of the idea of, and you just touched upon it, is wiping the slate clean,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is having a period of time when I'm training live jiu-jitsu. If I'm training with you, I can't focus on what's going on at home, right? Because I might get my arm broken.
Yeah, so I think it kind of, for jiu-jitsu, it gives you the opportunity to unplug, and the fancy thing they'd call that would be you end up in this mindful state or mindfulness or like the Zen state where you can't worry about anything except for the thing that's going on in front of you. And that goes into a lot of things, but I think the biggest part of that is you get just a break from reality and while doing something that is beneficial for your health, for your mind, and for everything else. You're able to unplug in a healthy way. Because also, drinking and doing drugs and things like that offers a similar escape. And I think most people who do those type of things would say that. But it doesn't have the upside of making you healthy. You don't lose fat. You don't increase your cardio. You don't learn any new skills when you're drinking beer or
Right.
whatever you're into.
You're not really meeting like meaningful new friends.
None of that.
Right.
Because it's all like, again, like I say, set and setting. So when you're in a jiu-jitsu gym, you're around, like people who are, typically kind of healthy, who all like doing the same thing.
Working towards some particular goal.
And it's just like it's a healthy environment.
Right.
If you have a healthy gym, because there's some bad gyms.
Right. There's some toxic gyms.
Yeah.
Now, and I talked to you a little bit about them when we were out to dinner. Again, Tim, you need to kick into the dinner budget. So, Devin's friend, and Devin does we're the number one rated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu podcast in South Jersey, and Devin is on the number one rated worldwide podcast as well, with Wallow 267 and Gilly the King, as he calls. He's no longer Gilly Kid. It's Gilly the King. So, Wallow 267, talk about having been in a toxic environment for 20 years. He was in prison as a I think he was like from 18 to 38. How old was he when he came out of prison, Dev?
He went in at 17 that time. He was already in 5 years before that.
Wow.
So he went 5 years juvenile. Then in 97, he went in and he got out in 2017.
So he's been out for 2 years.
Makes my stint in community college look like a joke.
Yeah. Now this guy really went to the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
And have you ever met anybody that's done hard time?
Yeah.
They are either number one scary or number two broken. Right? You meet this guy or you see him on social media, you would think he just walked out of Society Hill Towers, that he's just left Friends Select School, that he's never had a problem or an issue in his life.
Because of his social media?
Not because of his social media, but because of his outward personality, how kind of positive and how take charge he has become of his life post-prison, right? So it's like you see a certain group of people, and I think maybe this falls back to fixed mind state versus growth mind state, right? Where people come out of prison and are like, this is who I am. I'm just out of prison, but I'm still mentally in prison. Where he came out of prison and was like, nah, man, this is not where I'm not who I am. I am who I'm going to become, right? Like, so what, man, how does that happen? How does a guy do 20 years and not get fucked up?
I mean, I think to do something like that and to come out of it on the and still be positive, again, I think it speaks to having like a growth mindset of looking at it, say, okay, I did 20 years in prison. What was he doing the 20 years in prison?
I don't know, doing time.
Right. I mean, because some people spend their time in prison lifting weights and they come out huge. Some people spend their time reading books.
It seems like he might have been reading books. Deb, you know more.
reading.
Yeah. So reading books, they can get multiple degrees. I think you can get like a graduate degree in prison. You definitely get your GED. You can get a college degree. You can do all these things in prison. So it really probably, I'd venture to guess he was pretty active in prison, doing positive things.
But you got plenty of dudes out there like, punking dudes, stabbing dudes, taking, manhoods from people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the difference come?
I think when you in any place you can go to Yale and come out and not do anything, and you can go to prison, come out and do great things. I think it really depends on what you do while you're in there, and then what you do when you get out of there, right? So if you go to community college or whatever, when you get out, you really have to get after it. You really think about things in terms of, okay, I did XYZ before, and now I'm gonna and you set goals, whatever those goals may be, and set like a workable plan to reach those goals, and just make do it in stepwise fashion. I mean, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I meet so many people who are private business owners. Many people own gyms because if you ever go to class in the middle of the day and you see it's like packed with like all these guys, like how when I was
where's your job?
Yeah, when I was in college, I was like, how are all these people here? Because everyone has a business. Everyone is doing something on their own. And I think they may get that sense of if I put, X amount of work into something, I'm going to get X kind of results. That may have come from jiu-jitsu, or that may just be par for the course for people who do things like jiu-jitsu. But I think for people who do, crazy things happen to you, go to jail for 20 years and you come out and you make the best of it. It's because you look at things in terms of how hard you can work at something and get better at it versus I'm blessed, I'm smart, I'm pretty, and I'm going to make this happen. Or I'm just going to bust my ass, do all that I can, and dedicate all my time, all my, obsessiveness to this one particular thing and make it happen.
Yeah, man, because like this, it's really an impressive story.
Yeah.
A lot of us can learn from because it's like this guy could go to prison for 20 years and come out and now he's like a social media monster. He just did a commercial for the Philadelphia Union, has a #1 rated podcast. Like, I know it's like it sounds cliche, but all things are really possible, right? I mean, you would coming out of prison. It's amazing to me that he has taken the bull by the horns where so many people can't or refuse to or have never been exposed to something where they're like, hey, you know what? I can take the bull by the horns. I can grow this as opposed to not grow it.
Yeah, I mean, excuses are just that. If you make a reasonable plan about how you're going to attack any situation, chances are you're going to come out with some kind of either success or a failure, and you can learn from that failure and pivot and do it a different way and develop another plan and try again. And I think that's the difference between a jiu-jitsu white belt who quitted a blue belt and jiu-jitsu white belt who ends up being a black belt. The black belt learned and accepted the fact that he sucks today, from when he started as a white belt. But if he does, if he works on, passing the guard over and over again, he'll get better at it. Versus someone who starts, as a white belt, obviously, and quits 2 weeks later because they got beat up by a girl who weighs 50 pounds less. They don't see that how much hard work that girl had to put in, how many gallons of sweat that girl swallowed while training with like these bigger, stronger guys.
It's like there's this old saying where you walk up to these two stonemasons working on a church, right? And one of they go up and they ask the one stonemason, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm chipping away at this rock." And they ask the other stonemason, "What you're doing?" He says, "I'm building a church."
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's just perspective.
Yeah, 100%. So if you guys aren't listening to him yet, I would definitely check out Wallow 267. It's very, very inspiring, especially if you're not have direction or are looking to somebody, or somebody that's come out of prison that needs to look at somebody as a role model. Man, the guy used to stick guns in your face and run your pockets basically, and now he's really helping his community, helping people at large. Super good dude, man. Ran into him the other day, remembered me, didn't have to remember. It's really impressive guy.
And it's genuine.
Yeah.
Like when I say 1,000%, he's always the same guy all day, 24/7. That's him.
If you would meet him and him and his cousin Gilly do the podcast, I'd say Gilly's been to prison 10 times more than Wallow's been to prison.
Yeah.
So, yeah, super interesting. Cool. I just want people to find out about him. Yeah, I won't be. He's got like 500,000 followers. I got 2,000. So I'm going to help you out. I'm going to get you 7 people to follow you, Wallow. You can thank me later. All right? Send me a T-shirt, something. You could be my sponsor. All right, moving on. I have a little story here.
Oh, are we gonna fall asleep, or is it a good story?
No. Well, I didn't write the story. Somebody else wrote it. I'm going to read it.
Okay, I'll sit.
Yeah, you could interject at any point. This is weird things that have happened at your school.
Uh-huh.
In my previous school, one of the students was a home health aide. He actually brought one of his patients who was severely mentally handicapped to class one day. He put the patient in a chair.
All right, just stop.
In the back of the room.
It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, didn't tell anyone and proceeded to go to class. As class began, Our instructor heard some strange noises in the back room and went to investigate. He thought it was a junkie who had slipped in the back door and started yelling at him. And he was ready to grab him and throw him out, but he stepped in a puddle of pee under the patient's chair, slipped, and fell in the pee. The home health aide student heard the commotion and went running to the back room. Our instructor almost killed him for bringing the patient in and kicked him out. Never saw this guy again. True story. Anonymous.
I mean, there's a way you can look at it, though. This guy, the level of commitment he has
To jiu-jitsu?
to jiu-jitsu, he brings his work. I mean, everyone brings their cell phone and says, "Hey, I got my cell phone here. I might have to step off the mat if I get a call." He brought his work to the gym.
Yeah, so but the way he could have made it better for like an experience maybe for this person, that whatever issues they may have had, and this is kind of treating people with dignity and respect, and it's something that I'm a big fan of, especially people that have special needs or developmental delays, is that he could have sat him there and said, "Hey, you need to sit here, try and be as quiet," like and watch the class, right? Because stuffing him in the back,
it's just a horrible idea.
It depending if the person or the kid can handle it, right?
Depending.
Depending. So I really think I know the guy who slipped in the pee, and I think it's awesome that he slipped in the urine. But the home health aide's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he definitely disrespected that human being by stuffing him in the back.
Yeah.
And letting the guy urinate on himself or girl, or, whatever. So it's like it's actually, like it's funny to a certain degree, but it's terrible on another.
I mean, this could have happened. He could have brought the person out many other times and everything could have went right. You may have just gotten unlucky that particular time.
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of people that do certain kind of like this ancillary work with people with developmental disabilities, especially people that are a bit older, they're not really into their job and they don't do it very well.
Oh,
yeah. And
I'm trying to be nice, but no, the guy's an idiot. This is not a good idea.
And they don't treat a lot of times who they're in charge of very well. Yeah. So it's kind of scary.
It's unfortunate.
So that was an interesting, much better story than
your dogs.
No. Steve Bowers is crappy. Whatever police standoff story.
Oh,
he was supposed to come and see me today. He got busy doing something. I don't know what happened. I was gonna maybe have him pop in today. So last thing we're gonna cover is we got one question from the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's good though. We got a question.
We got one question. We got one question.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to send in any of your questions, you can go to ninjarob.com. And you could click on the email address. I fixed any issues that might be there that NJ had pointed out at one point. Or you can email us at ninjarobpodcast@gmail.com. So I have a question from Greg. He's a purple belt at Kenny Brock's. He says, how do you keep your ego in check? I see many people criticizing other people's style, technique, school, progress, etc. Also, I see people just looking for the win every roll. I know we're all competitive. This isn't the activity for people who like to lose. But what's the best way to keep the balance? Thank you, Greg, Ken Brock, MMA Purple Belt.
Excellent. The question was written very well.
If Tim were here, he'd probably find some sort of grammatical problem with it because he's some sort of snob when it comes to written English.
Inappropriate how we use the ellipsis or something like that.
Yeah, you think?
I don't know. Timmy's not here, so I'm
Yeah. So we're not going to... Greg, thank you for the question, by the way.
Yeah. What do you think?
So, I mean, putting yourself in the mind state, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks, right? Mm-hmm. The people that you care about and that you respect, their opinions matter only to the degree that your opinion doesn't matter more, right? So I don't care what anybody else thinks about my school. I don't care what anybody else thinks about my technique, right? Especially if they're talking shit. They don't train with me. They don't know my school, right? They don't know what I'm capable of. They may have heard it. Now, if you come to me and say, hey, Marco, you have this gaping hole in your technique or you have this problem at your school, that's much different because it's coming from somebody that I know, like, and respect. And that is coming from a place of wanting to help me as opposed to wanting to criticize me. I see this meme that runs around the internet. It says, why would you listen to their criticism if you wouldn't take their advice? Right? So that's something that I think really rings true.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he's asking how to fix people, maybe people because it seems like Greg has an excellent attitude. He's humble. Even by the fact that he's asking this question, there's probably a lack of there's definitely humility here. But he's maybe asking how to fix people, and he really can't fix people.
Right. People they are who they are.
They are who they are. Like the famous saying, I think it was G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle.
Did you just reference?
I'm 80s, man.
All right, man.
80s.
Okay, I like it. Knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle.
So were you a Destro guy or no?
Gotta love Deathstroke, man.
All right, just making sure. Just making sure.
He had the hottest girl on the whole show.
And the two ninjas, which one was your? Which one was your favorite?
It's kind of obvious who my favorite was. I think.
Who was it?
No, I mean it's obvious. I don't.
What's that mean?
I don't have to talk about it.
What? Why not?
We know who you like.
Who?
It's
Storm Shadow.
It's in your email. Anyway.
Go ahead.
So for ego issues in jiu-jitsu, which Greg has no issue. It's really, I think, if you're not checking yourself at the end,
You're wrecking yourself.
you're wrecking yourself. Who said that?
If you don't check yourself, you'll wreck yourself. Was that Das Effects?
Das, ding, ding, ding. Das Effects. Wow.
Thank you. Hello.
You did not grow up in the suburbs.
I did not. 17th of Mars, baby.
So
South Philly.
So I think it's important that you definitely take a look at what happened that day when you were training. And he talks about people are just rolling to win. So so you get the idea that people they're just holding them down for 5 minutes and not doing anything. They're just closing their guard, not letting anything happen.
Right, but that sounds like training not to lose.
Training not to lose. But
Right. But like, so we have to, what construct are they training? Are they getting ready for a tournament? Are they getting ready for a fight? Because look, at the end of the day, the competitor is there to get ready for his or her competition.
we're doing this from a growth mindset, Marco.
No, I'm with you.
We're working hard on getting better. And if what sounds like
get better at beating guys that are trying to beat you.
Right. So it sounds like if you're trying to get better at beating guys who are beating you, you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position and try to get better at it.
Right.
So you're doing positional training.
No, so what I was really, what I was trying to say is that because a guy's trying to win in the match doesn't make that a negative rolling experience, because he may be working on his growth mindset, might be taking him in a direction that he wants to become whatever type competitor, right? So this, sometimes what occurs is that my goal set and your goal set don't align, right? And I have to accommodate your goal set and either up my training or down regulate my training to meet what your goal set is, to make it to make it fun, safe, and good for both of us.
But I get what you're saying, but I think what he's asking is when you
I like what you said. You get what I'm saying, but you're going to think I'm wrong. Go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to take it to the next level, perhaps. It sounds
something that Tim is not capable of doing.
It sounds like what he's asking is how can I make my roles more interesting and while trying to get better, and how to encourage other grapplers to make the role more interesting so we both can get better.
But when you walk into every school that you're a regular at, you know who the death match is going to be, right? You don't walk in like every once in a while you might grab somebody you don't know and you're like, okay, I wasn't expecting this to be a death match.
But the thing is, you kind of, in the end, you end up avoiding the death matches more often than taking the death matches.
Right.
Because we're training. I'm training. There's no medals being earned that day.
Right.
I'm trying to get better. Typically, I'm working on something, whatever I conjured up for the week or the month,
Right.
and I'm working on something. If the death match guy fits that role, then I'll roll with them, right? But if they don't, and oftentimes they don't, because they're very like unidimensional grapplers and they're going to do the same thing over and over again, and you don't really get anything out of it.
You don't, but they might be getting something out, right? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a positive for somebody in that rolling experience.
But oftentimes the deathmatch person ends up doing death matches forever and not really getting that much better.
I don't know, because I think some of the guys that are, like the guys that are good at competition give you the death match.
But I guess it depends on your skill level as compared to the deathmatch person, right? Because if a white belt deathmatch person is different
It's
from
still
a
white belt, yeah.
from a black belt deathmatch person. So it depends. I mean, I guess it depends on the skill level too.
But also, like, you could just avoid that. If you know that all they want to do is win, and you're not up to training to win that day, and you're just training for whatever, like you said, whatever growth you have planned for yourself that day, then avoid that guy. But you really do have to carve out time for deathmatch guys. You can't just avoid them all the time.
No. And I think to answer his question, he's asking, but what's the best way to keep the balance, right? So he wants to figure out how to get better, have fun while dealing with these deathmatch people.
Right.
And I think, like you said, try to avoid the deathmatch person, or you set up a parameter whatever the deathmatch person likes to do fits into what you're doing that day. Because some deathmatch people, or some people are, you know, particularly good at passing the guard and holding, or they're really good at not letting you pass the guard, and, and that's where you feel like it's just they're just fighting to win, and they're not letting the match progress at all. And then that's the kind of thing. So you want to roll with that person continually to the point where you can just, you know, totally clown whatever it is that they're into. Yeah.
But so yeah, I agree with you. I think, you know, like if you go into it with a mindset or a game plan, it's definitely helpful. But if that's not where your head state is that day, don't train with the guy.
Yeah.
Even if he asks, it's okay to say no.
Oh yeah, I say no to Matt Richmond all the time.
Meathead Matt.
Meathead Matt.
Yo, he's really gotten a bad reputation. Devin went out and bought a mouth guard.
Yup.
And you say he's catching flack at Hellfish?
Well, I don't think his nickname was Meathead Matt until after this podcast.
That is awesome. I mean, we're changing lives.
One jiu-jitsu
podcast at a time.
I didn't know there was elbows in jiu-jitsu. I found out.
Hey, he's trying to make you combat ready.
Okay.
All right.
Cool with that.
I mean, he's ready. He wears a cup. He's ready for a fight.
His cup is brutal.
And just shoving it in your face.
All right, everybody. NJ.
Is that it?
That's it, man.
It went by so fast.
I know, didn't it?
Oh, wow.
I have no idea how much time we used up, but regardless, thank you. We really appreciate it. When I say we, I mean me. I don't even really care what Tim's doing right now. He's in Hungary. Hopefully, maybe getting his wife pregnant. I'll ask him when he comes back.
Or practicing at least.
Whatever.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But thanks for coming. Hope
Thanks
you had
for
a good
having
time.
me. No, it was amazing. I couldn't believe when you asked. This has been amazing.
Yeah. No, this is great.
Great experience.
I'm hoping that the way it works out, that Tim's going every weekend, and we can get you here more than we get him here. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll see you and hear you all next week. Thank you. Tim and I would like to thank our sound engineer and studio owner, Devin Wade, for always doing a great job with the sound, but also the beautiful facility that we get to use here at SFX Studios. We'd also like to thank Eddie Lynn, who takes and donates his time to the podcast to do all the video editing and everything you see on our social media. So really appreciate that from Eddie Lynn. And we'd also like to thank our friend Ralphie Darden, a.k.a. DJ Major Taylor, who gave us the original music that we use. So you're welcome, Tim.
And almost just as importantly as everybody else that he mentioned, we would like to thank all of our listeners that submitted questions.
This is the Ninja Rob Podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter, the podcast for the true martial artist.